Michael, how you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm great, Brendan. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, of course, of course. All right, so before we jump into Pocket, because I'm going to learn a lot about what Pocket is, and I'm sure going to have a lot of questions to follow up on. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your personal backgrounds. Like, what did you do before this? Was there something that got you excited about wanting to be in this industry and blockchain? Yeah, give me a little bit of background for my audience.
Yeah, I have a pretty broad background at this point. And for some context, I was born in the Caribbean, Dominican Republic, moved over here to Tampa, Florida when I was 2 years old. And that's important because I've spent several times having used Western Union, sending money to my family in terms of my first entry into crypto. And 2008, paid a lot of attention to the Occupy Wall Street movement. Learned a lot about the financial system. Really, the first time I really dug into it at that point, and studied history in college. Taught myself to code. I was an iOS engineer for about 3 years. Before that, I had actually failed out of college, smoked too much weed, and played too much World of Warcraft. And
Don't we all?
yeah, and just kind of meandered around, working at various jobs, from golf courses to credit unions. Learned a lot about kind of the local financial system, working at several credit unions as selling loans and this sort of thing. It wasn't until I kind of straightened up a little bit. I graduated college in 2015 with an international studies degree, and had already learned to code. So I moved out to Silicon Valley for about 6 months looking for work. Ended up finding a job all the way down in Sarasota, Florida in 2016 when I met my co-founders for Pocket Network. Previously, I had actually stumbled across Bitcoin in 2013. I had read a Wired article about the Silk Road, and that led me to the subreddit, the Bitcoin subreddit. And really, that's when I really fell in love with crypto. Read the white paper, and just really, haven't left since. I remember watching Vitalik announce Ethereum at the Bitcoin Miami conference in January 2014. At the time, I was pretty, I would say I was a Bitcoin maximalist, but I was pretty deep into Bitcoin at the time. I was like, oh, this is vaporware. Ethereum's not going to do anything. And it wasn't really until 2016 when I met my co-founders, and we started writing some smart contracts on Ethereum, when my mind was just absolutely blown. And that's really when we started coming up with the first idea for Pocket as well. But generally have a pretty broad background with lots of different kinds of odd jobs, from restaurants to credit unions to golf courses and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think my first real introduction to crypto was Bitcoin in like 2013, when it had that first little bubble, that run up to like $1,200 or something like that. And it was like all over the news, and everyone's like, what's this Bitcoin thing? Like, what's going on? What's going on with this tulip mania in the digital world? And it was fascinating because it just started a whole new like trend of economics, and like what economics can be and what value can be. But I think most people generally have the same answer, but it's cool too, because Ethereum is something I really got into, which really propelled me into the industry as well. Just, being able to build on blockchain, like that wasn't really thought of for years until Ethereum came along.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I didn't really know how to contribute to Bitcoin other than, buy and hold. And to your point, I remember, I wasn't really that technical at the time. And I remember, buying at $600, I think it was sometime in the second half of the year, and seeing that run up to 1,200, and then really buying all the way down for 18 months somehow, which is interesting. But yeah, it wasn't until I learned to code myself and started really, trying to write some smart contracts. That's really where, what really got me excited, just because it had just, I like to compare it a lot to when I was learning to code for iOS, because it was when Apple released their programming language called Swift. And they really lowered the barrier of entry for people to learn to code through Swift.
Mm-hmm.
They have this software called Xcode, and they just make it almost drag and drop easy to kind of code your first very simple application. And for me, Ethereum, it wasn't quite drag and drop, nor is it drag and drop right now. But to be able to lower the barrier, to be able to contribute and build, your own protocols without anyone's permission is just absolutely mind blowing, and has obviously changed the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Pocket the first thing you attempted to build, or did you try and build some other stuff before that?
No, we actually tried to build something called Telcoin, actually.
What's Telcoin?
Yeah. Telcoin was, this idea of tokenizing your cell phone data, right? So we had this whole idea where people would be able to create their own, we'd be able to incentivize people to create their own cell towers, actually. There's this type of cell phone company or type of organization you can build here in the United States where the larger providers have to rent you by law, kind of their cell service.
Mm-hmm.
And we dug pretty deep into that for a couple of months and just realized, the technology wasn't really there yet. And it was kind of in the process of building these smart contracts, kind of exploring, is really when we kind of saw the problem of Pocket and really saw that that was something that we could build and that was really needed in the space at the time. So but yeah, the first idea was to be able to, fly to Paris and seamlessly be able to pay for international calls and data and this sort of thing.
I mean, that's not a bad idea. That's actually like a pretty good idea off the cuff there, because that is a huge problem.
Yeah, it was 5G was starting to pick up, and the idea was we'd be able to incentivize all these crazy 5G towers, and people would have we'd accelerate this kind of bandwidth across the world, right? But thankfully, smarter people than me have done that, like Elon Musk and the like. So yeah, so they're working on some interesting stuff on that side. But yeah, so Telcoin was the first thing, and we just evolved it into Pocket after a few months.
Sweet. Yeah. So let's dive into Pocket and unveil it a little bit. What is Pocket, or the Pocket network? Like, what does it do? Why is it important? Like, what's it solving?
Yeah, I'll try to give you some context as to how we kind of stumbled across it first. Like I said, we were writing some smart contracts in Ethereum. We use a service that's pretty well known today called Infura. And through Infura, it's a very simple API where they run Ethereum full nodes. They provide a nice kind of like a gateway that provides an endpoint or an API for developers to be able to build their applications super easily, right? And over the course of 2017, especially that bull market, we saw the importance of Infura for the Ethereum ecosystem. And we saw the reliance that Ethereum had on Infura at the time. I think upwards of 80% of all requests at the time were going through Infura. And part of our core thesis is that we believe there's going to be hundreds or eventually thousands of blockchains governing our lives in the future. So we started thinking about what would a protocol look like that could provide this Infura-like service in a decentralized way, effectively. So what we came on was a primitive of incentivizing people to run full nodes. So in a couple of ways, you can think of Pocket as a decentralized API, where instead of connecting to a centralized endpoint, you can connect through the Pocket protocol and have a bunch of full nodes there waiting to provide you service. These full nodes provide the service. They submit some information to the Pocket blockchain and then earn the inflation or the block rewards of the Pocket blockchain itself. But fundamentally, it's a two-sided marketplace. Instead of developers paying a monthly fee, they stake our native cryptocurrency Pocket, and it's a one-time payment, so it actually ends up being significantly cheaper. And on the other side, on the supply side, you have nodes providing this kind of API-like service, which is effectively access to full nodes for any blockchain.
Is it a full node that anyone can set up to like participate in the network, or is there like an incentivization? I can't even say the word. Is it incentivized? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Pocket incentivizes people to run full nodes. So we've got a whole host of kind of providers in the network that have already been running full nodes, right? Maybe they're staking as a service providers. maybe there are other infrastructure providers, but they already have a bunch of full nodes running. Pocket provides an opportunity for them to improve their margins, right? Because they're earning Pocket as as income, right? The other side is we've got a ton of people. We've probably got a dozen people now who have zero to hero have learned to become DevOps, junior DevOps engineers, effectively from scratch, and they've just been incentivized to run full nodes, right? Because they want to learn about Pocket, run some nodes, and so on and so forth. It's pretty, right now you need to, you can make your way around a terminal. You don't need to know too much. You should be able to get a Pocket node up in a couple hours at most. So,
are there requirements for that? Like, do you have to own like a certain amount of Pocket to make the node run? Or because I know like other blockchains, they have requirements like that. Like Ethereum's like 30 something, Ethereum, Horizon's somewhere similar to that too. Is there like a limit or requirement?
yeah, there's definitely a requirement. Pocket at its core is a proof of stake protocol. And this initial stake is really important for the consensus in terms of keeping the ledger safe and also keeping the nodes honest, right? So that 15,000 Pocket you need to participate as a node is what allows the trustless part of the protocol to operate. Because if I'm a node, since I have this money staked, if I lie or cheat within the protocol, it will slash or delete your money, right? So that's a really important component of the protocol itself.
How does Pocket work exactly, and like who is it built for? Like I'm still trying to grasp the concept, because I've gone through the website a couple of times, but I'm not quite connecting the dots exactly. Can you better explain that on a surface level?
Yeah. So every time you're using, let's say, a DeFi application like Zapper or MyCrypto or Xerion or Compound, it doesn't matter, right? You're seeing your balance, right? Or MetaMask, your balance on MetaMask. MetaMask is a great example. That data of your let's say your Ethereum balance has to come from somewhere. So in the MetaMask software, they connect through these things called APIs, application programming interfaces, that allow you to send data to a server somewhere. And these servers are running Ethereum full nodes, where this request for my balance gets sent to that full node. It looks into the Ethereum history and finds your, let's say, the latest block, right? Your balance on the latest block. So through these APIs is what every blockchain application is built. The problem is that all these APIs are centralized companies, and there's some issues with that in terms of cost, in terms of privacy, and of course, especially with a lot of the issues we've seen over the last 3 to 6 months, centralization is becoming more important as well. But fundamentally, when I make a request through Pocket Network, it goes through a similar process. It goes through kind of an endpoint or an API that the node then services that request. So, Brandon's balance is 15 ETH, right? Sends it back to the application. And what's important here is that both the application and the node are in this signature game. And that's what makes Pocket, that's what allows the Pocket to be trustless in this respect. So the application signs with, on the Pocket side, using a Pocket or SDK, which is just a developer tool, and says, hey, I'm requesting this balance. The node receives it and says, and signs also with the Pocket private keys and says, hey, here you go. I've served you this balance. And what the node does is accumulate all these what we call relay proofs, which is some of the information, the signature information, the application information, node information. And this node will hold, thousands or millions of these proofs. That node will then generate something called a Merkle sum tree, which is a derivative of the Merkle tree, which has been pretty popularized by Ethereum. And the node then submits the root of that tree.
Don't get sick, man.
Yeah, and that's how nodes are kept honest. A couple hours later,
Mm-hmm.
That node is going to submit something called the zero knowledge range proof, a portion of that proof that they've created. And it's incredibly, impossibly difficult to lie about that specifically. If the node lies about it, then they're subject to be slashing by the Pocket protocol. So we use this cryptography and zero knowledge range proofs to keep nodes honest in this respect. But at the top level, they're just requesting and responding data from applications.
Yeah. Have you guys had like any use cases as of lately, or any that are notable that really help give an example of like where Pocket can go and what it can do that you guys are proud of having seen, or that's just recent?
Yeah, absolutely. One of our largest users is MyCrypto.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've ever used a MyCrypto wallet, they use Pocket to show your balances and this sort of thing. Zapper.fi. Zapper.fi as well is a protocol or a product that's using Pocket today. You might be familiar with Scale Network. They're currently using us in our testnet, or on the Rinkeby testnet on Pocket. Cool. And really any Ethereum application that you use today is very likely capable of using Pocket right now, actually.
Gotcha. Are there like real world APIs that, could switch and like utilize Pocket more, that are pretty popular? I feel like that's an avenue that you guys can definitely go down.
When you say real world APIs, are you referring to things like
stuff outside blockchain, I guess, like APIs that, that are common, that commonly used,
Absolutely.
in the US, or I guess anywhere, because I guess everyone uses an API.
Yeah.
But like more broadly speaking, outside of blockchain, I bet there's a lot of different industries, almost every industry, that it could, eventually reach or touch.
Yeah, that's a great question. Pocket works with any openly accessible database. So what I mean by that is, for example, if I want to use Pocket for sports APIs, right, where I want to get the scores of the Super Bowl from CBS, ESPN.com, and Yahoo.com, you can use Pocket to verify some of that data, right, and receive that data in a trustless manner. Right. So really open source, any open source database at this point. I'm sure lots of probably machine learning databases and these sorts of things that are already open source could absolutely be used in Pocket, right? And helping share that kind of compute and that sort of thing. So that's where Pocket really shines.
Yeah. How could that plug into machine learning? Like, where's the integration there?
Well, it's more taking the data sets from that machine learning, the people building, using building machine learning models are using, right? And you can potentially host those on Pocket, actually get paid to do it, right? So,
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So if there's some schema or database that's consistent across the board, you can have a bunch of people running, a simple database that hosts the schema. Or the information, and as long as it's the same across the board, you can actually get paid to provide that data, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, you're making me want to set up a node. Like, I just want to get paid right now.
Yeah, part of our vision is that my mom will be able to run a Pocket node, almost like a Wi-Fi router in her home, right? I see a future where we've got a bunch of these protocols that are kind of starting to layer on top of each other in many ways, right? Like Handshake for DNS, Pocket, for infrastructure, Althea. There's a bunch of Tor type protocols like Hopper and these sorts of things. I see a future where we kind of have these boxes, living in our homes that are, allowing us access to Web3 while, providing us various incentives for participating and giving that compute, right? So I think one day, as the tooling improves, we'll get there.
Gotcha. Also saw on the website, I'm still scrolling through it right now, looking for all the cool stuff that you guys are doing. It seems like a lot. But it said that you guys, support Ethereum. And a few other things. Do you guys support or going to support potentially other blockchains, that are up and coming that seem to have a lot of growth, like a Polkadot or Cardano or Hedera Hashgraph, or is it mostly based for blockchains like Ethereum that need a leg up? Or like what's the sense?
Yeah, you can think of Pocket almost like a Uniswap for blockchain infrastructure. We can support any one of these open source blockchains, right? In fact, we support 10 or 11 today, from the Ethereum testnets to XDAI to Bitcoin, RSK. So we're not limited to just kind of EVM or Ethereum based nodes. We'll be providing infrastructure for HydraDX, which is a parachain, for example.
Sweet.
So it's really unlimited. Really, to add a new blockchain to Pocket, it's a couple lines of configuration on your node. So you just have to run the full node for the given blockchain, and then kind of point the configuration from your Pocket node to that blockchain node, and that's it. It doesn't really require any changes or anything like that on the protocol side.
Nice. And there's a Pocket token, right?
Yeah, so Pocket's its own blockchain, actually. We really, for some history, we tried everything we could to not make Pocket as its own blockchain. If you dig deep into our repository on GitHub, you'll see the first, because it's hard to build a blockchain now.
Sure.
It's hard. It's definitely been a journey. If you dig into our first in our repository, you'll actually see the first smart contracts that we tried to build Pocket as on Ethereum, but we found that it was far too expensive in terms of fees for the protocol to be sufficiently efficient for what we were trying to do. We looked at state channels, we looked at Plasma, and eventually we landed on Tendermint as kind of the base layer for Pocket. At the time, Tendermint was by far the most battle tested kind of consensus protocol at the time, and we kind of went in on the Tendermint ecosystem.
Awesome. Yeah, I kind of, for some reason, thought that you guys were built on Ethereum, because it just seems like everything in this space is still built on Ethereum. So it's cool when you come across a project or I get to do an interview or a podcast episode and it's their own blockchain, their own project. I'm like, oh, cool, this is interesting. Versus, just going through the same, oh, we're built on Ethereum or a layer for Ethereum kind of thing.
Yeah, Pocket's built to solve one problem really, really well, and that's cheap, private, redundant infrastructure, right? So the Pocket token has two use cases. Developers pay for the service by staking Pocket. The token and nodes have the right to do work, get the right to do work in the network by also staking the network token as well.
Do you know how big your node network is? Like, do you know how many nodes are out there, or do you have stats for that?
Yeah, we're right around 2,000 nodes around the world right now. So that's from Australia to Moscow to Europe to the Americas. And right now they're serving
Russia.
Yeah, we've got a pretty strong Eastern European / Russian community. Actually, it's quite interesting. Some of the earlier users from our testnet were pretty heavily from that part of the world, and they're all serving between 5 and 7 million API requests a day in production for production applications, right? So it's pretty interesting to see how that work gets distributed, right? And what's interesting is that in Pocket, you actually have 5 nodes that are serving any one application at one time, right? And applications can choose to have, and this is through something called a session, and applications can choose to have as many sessions as they want serving their own, let's say it's Zapper, for example, or MyCrypto or MetaMask, doesn't matter. And you can have, we have one application that has 100 nodes serving it at any given point in time. And the thing about Pocket is that it rotates out these nodes every hour on the hour, which is pretty mind-blowing if you think about it, because in the traditional kind of architecture, you have this API, and it's the same API in perpetuity. You're hitting the same one, right? And right. We've managed to build this new architecture through this protocol that coordinates infrastructure on a global scale, and it's just incredibly exciting and mind-blowing, to be honest.
Is congestion or latency like ever an issue with that? And is it easily solvable by just adding more nodes to the network, or is I don't know, maybe that's not an issue at all because you know better than I do.
No, that's a really great question. It definitely is an issue, right? Because you're actually getting a global set of nodes, right? So it might take, for some context, anything under 300 milliseconds is basically under human perception, right? So you'll see a
Mhm.
page load, and as long as it loads under 300 milliseconds, it's under kind of the perception that we see as humans when we're loading up this web page. Pockets, most of the requests at this point are between 400 and 600 milliseconds. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, these are raw Ethereum nodes, and this is probably the biggest reason for the latency. Whereas a centralized company has lots of optimizations with like caching, these extra databases, indexing, and this sort of thing. Right now, at least, you're hitting just raw Geth nodes through
Mhm.
Pocket. So that's a really big reason for the latency. And for kind of comparison, it'll probably take between 50 and 100. If someone's on the other side of the world, it'll probably take max 150 milliseconds for that request to go back and forth between the two. So even then, it's not that big of a deal,
Mhm.
particularly when I have a random set of nodes. One might be in New York, one might be in San Francisco, one might be in Singapore, one might be in France, right? So I'll be able to receive data more quickly from the closer nodes while the other ones kind of catch up as well. So yeah, so that's not too big of an issue, but for us, the biggest issue is kind of these optimizations on the node level, where they can have some local caches and indexes and these sorts of things to make things much more quickly, because the challenge is that Ethereum nodes are not optimized for speed of requests. They're really optimized for these as peer-to-peer networks for resiliency in these peer-to-peer networks. So the database in Ethereum is this tree structure, and it can take a long time to query that information. So a lot of these services have done a really good job of having kind of more traditional optimized databases to be able to provide data. And we expect to get there within the next 3 to 6 months, actually, pretty consistently under sub 300 milliseconds per request.
Yeah, 3 to 6 months is pretty quick in this space since everything seems to take forever. um, but yeah, what if like demand traffic or pings, to a node, like all of a sudden like start going up because you guys have some future integration with I don't know, MailChimp um or Stripe, which gives me so many problems. I hate Stripe right now. Or something else that's API based in a lot of ways, could have a use case with you guys that could drive traffic or pings or requests through a node. Is that something that could potentially slow it down and make it harder to rely on, or is that solved again simply through just getting more nodes out there that are there's more optionality?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's not a problem, because an application can, what I mentioned about the sessions before, they can
Yeah.
choose to be in as many sessions as they want. And we would recommend an application like MailChimp, it's probably in the billions of requests right a day,
Yeah.
to split up their requests across probably hundreds or thousands of sessions, right? So if I have a
Okay.
thousand sessions, I then have 5,000 nodes with that work split up evenly across those 5,000 nodes, as an example. So the protocol naturally load balances this work without any problems, right? And of course, as demand goes up, that creates a stronger incentive for more nodes to get spun up as well. So you have a natural kind of marketplace here where um, uh, the capacity of the total nodes, right, will increase as the throughput of the network goes up. The difference, though, what's interesting about this is if you take Uber as an example, one driver, as the supply side of the network, can only have 5, maybe 7 people in a car, right? The difference with Pocket and kind of an infrastructure protocol like Pocket is that one infrastructure provider could actually scale to as much infrastructure as they need, right?
Mm.
Pretty quickly and easily, right? So there's some nice elasticity on the supply side when it comes to the node counts and these sorts of things. Right now, each individual node is just receiving a fraction of the traffic, right? And that's just because the incentives are such that it's profitable right now to have 2,000 nodes and 5 million requests a day, for example.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. What's your guys's roadmap look like for 2021? Like, what's the plan for this year? Like, are you guys just going to keep, going forward and trying to get more nodes out there? Do you guys have things you're trying to push out in terms of like upgrades or updates and things like that, or new clients you're reaching for, or like what's the plan?
Yeah, we've got a couple big protocol releases on the forefront, 6.0 and 7.0 respectively. They're both pretty big optimization improvements for the protocol. Outside of that, we have two releases on the product side that we're really excited for. The first one being the Pocket Dashboard. This is a nice product that a developer will have the same kind of experience as you would using a centralized service provider. And it'll be a very automated self-serve. I can use Pocket in the background. We're in fact staking Pocket for you on the background. Our free tier is 1 million requests a day, which is quite nice. And this will allow developers to easily come in and try Pocket by getting an API endpoint or an endpoint for their application and try it out. And we expect that to grow and change in time. And what's great is that this is all open source. So we really hope that people build their own gateway businesses and dashboard businesses. We think that might be super lucrative. We're just really trying to show the path here more than anything. And the other thing that we're really, really excited for is Wrapped Pocket. We're actually launching Wrapped Pocket hopefully in a couple months. And what this does is allow anyone to crowdsource infrastructure for their favorite applications. So right now, yeah. If I am, right now, really the only people who would be interested in Pocket are a developer or a node runner. That's it. Through Wrapped Pocket, we're actually using the Ampliforth Tokenizer contract on the back end. You'll be able to stake Wrapped Pocket for your favorite applications and earn a yield in Wrapped Pocket. And by staking Wrapped Pocket, you're getting that application free infrastructure, and you're also driving more relays to Pocket Network as well. So we kind of have this nice win-win-win scenario, which is something we're really, really excited for.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What was it called? Wrapped Pocket?
Yeah, Wrapped Pocket. So W Pocket. We have a kind of green paper on our forums, and we're kind of going with this regenerative finance theme because you're actually helping improve the decentralization of Ethereum just by staking towards these applications, right? And you're actually regenerating a lot of the capital and information that's being sent through the through the network, right? So it's something we're really, really excited for.
Damn, I'm gonna have to get some bags of Wrapped Pocket, stash those away for a few years. Who knows?
Yeah, we're doing a balancer kind of LBP distribution at the same time that we launch it. So yeah, feel free to keep an eye for that.
Sweet. Where's your community at generally? Is it on Discord or Telegram or just generally on social media? Where do people go to talk about all their pockets?
Discord is our home.
Okay.
We've done a lot of work with our Discord. We like to think it's actually one of the more well done and unique Discords in the space. Jack, our governance lead, we've actually designed this game around Pocket. And it's almost like a proof of knowledge, whereas you use Pocket as a node or developer, or eventually Wrapped Pocket, you can claim these quests just naturally by participating in the protocol. And this is all done through the Discord, actually. So you post the quests, you claim it, and you kind of level up through this game. And once you reach a certain level, you can actually automatically claim a vote through Pocket's governance and participate in the DAO, actually. So we don't have any token voting or anything like that. It's purely based kind of like on a proof of knowledge, if you will, an anti-Sybil, a Sybil resistant proof of knowledge kind of system. And it's all done through our Discord. So it's something we're really proud of.
You guys on social media as well, or where can people go to stay up to date on what Pocket's doing?
Yeah, POKT Network, at POKT Network. We have a couple newsletters. I definitely recommend signing up for those. We have our weekly relay recap, and we've got kind of a more monthly, more broad kind of about what we're building and that sort of thing. We're starting some community calls on our Discord. These will be weekly, and it's something we're pretty excited for. But POKT Network is the Twitter handle.
Cool. You hear that, people? Go sign up for the damn newsletter, the damn Pocket newsletter. And I don't know what your people are doing, but come on, sign up for that thing. I know the struggle of trying to push a newsletter. Anyways, Michael, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. I learned a lot about Pocket. I think a lot of people will take a lot away from this as well. It's really cool what you're doing. It'll be cool to see how everything plays out over the course of the next couple of years, or probably this year. This year's moving so damn fast. Geez, January alone felt like a whole year. February is just, it's never going to end, huh? 2021 is crazy.
Dude, we're halfway through February already. It's going by too fast.
I feel like we're in 2022 already. Like this has been a long month. Anyways, yeah, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brendan. This was a great conversation. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Get healthy and stay safe.
Yeah, thanks.